Greetings from Grenada. As you remember, I'm Dr. Rao, Dean of Students. I was a part of your life and you were a part of my life many years ago, or a few years ago. First of all, I want to congratulate you for your success as a physician, especially practicing in the New England area. I have been so proud of your accomplishments. I rejoice your success. And I say, I wish I could meet with you now and give you a big hug. I wish you and the rest of the attendees of New England the very best during this session, and we'll keep in touch. Now that I'm Dean of Alumni Affairs, no more Dean of Students, I'll be with you for the rest of your lives and my life, whichever comes first. Good luck to you, God bless you, and love to the family.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dr. Bruce Bonanno, class of '83 and president of the Alumni Association. And a special thanks to the Northeast chapter of the Alumni who are holding this event tonight. Welcome to those third and fourth year students who are joining us also. Hopefully you'll get your questions answered about residency and living in a New England area after residency. Now, because of the pandemic, we've had to have these kind of events and not the person-to-person things that seem to work a lot better. But hopefully in the future, we'll be able to expand on this as we have over 20,000 alumni now that have graduated from the school. But first off, let me acknowledge all those alumni who have been involved in the COVID fight. All of us have signed up for medicine, of course, because we want to help people. But we've had to really step up our game this year. And for those of you involved, thank you. Now, we had our CME conference in Grenada canceled this year because of the pandemic, but good news, we are planning for it next year, the first week in March. So put that on your calendar, and hopefully I'll see you on the beach there in Grenada. Now, a special milestone event is taking place, the 40th anniversary of the first graduating class from St. George's. This is people that are affectionately known as the charter class. We are going to have a special event recognizing this, May 23rd, 2 p.m. So look out for those events and please join us. Now, finally, I want to thank all of you for tuning in and stay safe out there. Bye-bye.
Today, I will be making a traditional Grenadian rum punch. Let's start with the ingredients. Crackscoat White, locally produced. Crackscoat Dark, locally produced. Lime juice, locally squeezed. Orange juice, Angostura bitters, lemon, grated nutmeg, and sugar syrup. Let's give it a try. Nice.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Phil Lorman, Dr. Phil Lorman. I'm a graduate of St. George's University in the charter class back in 1981, and I'm really happy to lead this group discussion tonight. And we have with us three other illustrious St. George's alumni, Glenn Brady, Dr. Paul Matthew, and Dr. Sandra Rainway. And so I'd like each of you to introduce yourself briefly after I just say hi. As I said, I'm a 1981 graduate of St. George's University. I practice OBGYN in Hartford, Connecticut as part of the University of Connecticut School of Medicine and on the faculty there as an assistant professor. I want to introduce Dr. Glenn Brady next. Glenn, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, well, thank you, Phil, for having me, and thank you to the Alumni Association for hosting this event. I'm a graduate from 1998. I was a January class, and I practice anesthesiology and critical care medicine. I'm currently one of the medical directors of anesthesia practice at Yale New Haven Health at Lawrence and Memorial Hospital and Westerly Hospitals out on the southeastern edge of Connecticut.
And Dr. Matthew, please tell us about yourself.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Paul Matthew. I did my neurology residency at Temple University Hospital after graduating from St. George's in 2005. I then did a fellowship in craniofacial pain at Mayo Clinic before taking on a faculty position at Harvard, where I'm an assistant professor of neurology. I see primarily concussion and craniofacial pain and headache disorders. In addition to my clinical and academic role, I'm also the Director of Legislative Affairs for the National Board of Physicians and Surgeons, and I'm also the co-chief medical editor for the Journal of Practical Neurology.
And Dr. Rainway, please tell us about yourself.
Hello, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be included in this wonderful group. I graduated in 2000, so I'm the class of 2000, did my internal medicine residency at Norwalk Hospital, as well as my pulmonary fellowship there and critical care training at Yale. I am now currently the medical director of the Wound Care Hyperbaric Center at Greenwich Hospital and an active pulmonary critical care physician as well. And I met my husband at St. George's, and he's a St. George's grad too.
Ooh. Well, that's great. Well, thanks everybody. So what I'd like to do is just have everybody tell some good stories and some relate to things that happened back in Grenada. So starting with you, Glenn, what do you miss about St. George's and Grenada the most?
Phil, that's a tough question because there's a lot of things to miss about being on the island. But I think one of the things that constantly rings true is just the beautiful vistas and sitting out on the beach or sitting out on a rocky point and those breezes blowing off the ocean. And whether it's, getting a study break as a student or having had the chance to go back and visit the island afterwards, that just kind of warm and seafaring part of the island really I miss that.
Absolutely. Yeah. How about you, Paul? You have a place you miss?
Yeah, so I would echo Glenn's comments, but as a neurologist, I would have to reference the fight and flight response of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Of course, the sympathetic part, you're not really too crazy about cramming and trying to study for your midterms and finals, but certainly enjoying sandblast and all the fantastic parties that we would have after studying so hard. You can't work all the time. You need to really enjoy and cut loose. As well as the island hopping and really getting to see some of the more beautiful parts of the Caribbean. I would say all those were really fantastic memories that I miss.
And Dr. Wainwright, how about you?
The same as Glenn and Paul. The beaches are so beautiful and clean. The people are so friendly and welcoming and educated. I miss the food. I mean, a chicken roti with bones in it. Like, I actually miss that. And callaloo soup, I really do miss that as well, and all the wonderful fruit that you can eat. And we would go back and visit Grenada pretty regularly and try to do spring breaks there until my son's sports schedule took over our lives and we couldn't go back for spring break, and then COVID interrupted that. But my kids were spoiled because when you do Grand Anse and how clear and clean and blue that water is, and beautiful the sand is. And then they go to Maine and they're like, oh, Mom, the beach here sucks. I'm like, yeah, it does. Because Grenada just spoils you for beaches.
Absolutely. Just changing gears a little bit, I'd like to talk a little bit about your practices. And what did you feel what was impactful in terms of how your practice has been able to contribute to the community where you live and work? Glenn?
Well, it's probably it's changed for me over time. And I after graduating from Stanford and doing my critical care fellowship there, I joined the faculty out at Oregon's University of Oregon, Oregon Health Sciences University. And then I kind of wandered from there back to the East Coast and was on the faculty at UConn, Newark Medical College, and now here in New London, Connecticut. And so my impact is in the different communities that I've lived in has been rather different. One of the things that I've really enjoyed is in my current practice is I live in a small town, and southeastern Connecticut is a area with people you can get to know very quickly. And it's been fun after working in large academic programs where patients were flying in on helicopters or being driven in from long distances to live in the community and care for patients in the same community in which I live. And so that's actually been really enjoyable for me.
Oh,
yeah, I think what has been most impactful is, I guess, staying in academia and being able to reach out to other people with kind of newer and more cutting edge treatments and practicing, research and things like that. I've found it to be very rewarding. I've been co-chief medical editor of Practical Neurology for many years, and it's always great to hear other neurologists telling me, of all the publications I get, as the name implies, it's extremely practical. There's a lot of clinical pearls that otherwise you would not see in a lot of other peer-reviewed journals. And as well as, I'm chair of the procedural section of the American Headache Society, and I was just recently elected to the board of directors for the National Headache Foundation. And as everybody here probably knows, headache disorders are extremely common. 1 in 5 women have migraine, 1 in 20 men have migraine. So to be able to help educate not just neurologists, but other primary care physicians and people all over the country being able to lecture and do webinars, I think has really expanded people's understanding of how to treat these disorders and approach them. So I think that's been tremendous, and I've been proud to be able to contribute to the growing knowledge in the specialty.
how about you, Dr. Wainwright?
I think St. George's gave me the can-do attitude. I probably wouldn't have been able to be a doctor if I hadn't gotten into St. George's, because I applied to every US medical school in the country and could not get in. And this was my last ditch effort. And I got in, and it was the best experience of my life. And it gave me the passport to then do what I needed to do. And training at Norwalk, which is a very strong clinical program, but it's a small community hospital. There's nothing shiny about it, but they had a connection with Yale. And so I was able to do my critical care year at Yale. And I had I'm not a chip on the shoulder kind of person, but I had a very small little St. George's. I went to a Caribbean med school. I went to the Harvard of the Caribbean, a chip on my shoulder. And my mentors at Norwalk said, you have to do well at Yale. You have to make us look good. And of course, I have to make Norwalk look good, but I had to make St. George's and myself look good too.
Oh, that's wonderful. My experience, I also went through 2 phases. My early stages, I moved to a college town in Mansfield, Connecticut, where the University of Connecticut is. Started a practice from scratch, believe it or not, as a solo practitioner, and grew it to 8 providers, 5 docs, and 3 midwives. Delivered thousands of babies, and including a second generation of babies where I delivered a woman, and then her child became my patient who delivered again. And that was about where I started to think, well, what other things can I do? And a friend of mine in academics at Harvard Hospital in UConn offered me a full-time job when I asked to teach on my day off. So that led to the last 10 years of my career, where I've had the honor and privilege of teaching over 100 residents over that time as a St. George's grad, by the way, and countless students. So what I learned during the first part of my career, starting with St. George's in my residency, I've gotten to pass on to the next generation of women's health physicians in my field. So along that line, I want to shift a little bit and talk about how you feel you've been able to serve your community, perhaps outside of your immediate daily work.
I can start. Actually, I've been volunteering since I was about 15 years old, and I've been volunteering in actually in healthcare, working as in the local ambulance and rescue squad in my hometown when I was in high school. And time I was 17 or 18, I was in charge of the CPR and healthcare education systems for ambulance services and fire departments in my local region. And I've really grown on that over time. I've gotten very lucky to participate in the New York Roadrunners and give back to, when I was living in Manhattan for almost 10 years, contributing to that team of runners and runners health. And I've done a lot of work in with the National Ski Patrol, reaching out to the winter enthusiasts, and we've branched into summer enthusiasts and things of that nature. So doing their education programs and being a provider in the community, and doing a lot of that work, whether it be with a fire department or the ski patrol, just kind of connecting with sports and the outdoors, which I particularly enjoy, has been a way of giving back to my community, which is not only the community where I live, but also the community in which I play.
Dr. Matthew.
So in medicine, we're all aware of the three pillars. There's patient care, education, and research. But I think, the fourth pillar that is often ignored is advocacy. And that's something I've been passionate about very much so. Unfortunately, to the detriment of my family, my wife getting mad at me for doing too many volunteer activities that are not compensated. But I've really enjoyed it. I've been to DC several times with the American Academy of Neurology's Neurology on the Hill, and more recently Headache on the Hill earlier last month. And it's been great actually speaking with lawmakers about different policies and bills that they should be supporting to bolster NIH research, as well as direct care initiatives and reform of physician reimbursement and the pharmaceutical industry and all those things.
That's great. Dr. Rainwell, you're next.
I think I've been fortunate to make an impact in the community by being a hyperbaric and critical care physician in a time when COVID hit us really badly. Greenwich Hospital is positioned on the New York border, so while we're a small hospital, we were the first hospital in the Yale system to get nailed pretty hard. And what was sort of interesting is that I was supposed to be on call the following week, but the pulmonary doc in front of me got COVID and fell out of the rotation, so I stepped up. And that was the first weekend that we had 3 patients get intubated overnight, and I was driving in and there were then 7 intubated patients, and the ICU at my hospital was kind of an open unit and a little loose and not very formalized. And I was driving in and realizing I needed to tighten up the intensive care unit and run it the way an ICU should be done immediately. And I walked in and there were a bunch of scared residents and scared nurses and scared respiratory therapists, and I was scared too. And I told them, you know what, because I'd been watching the news coming out of China and Italy for a long time, that they were going to go into ARDS and multi-organ failure, and that we would have to prone them. We would have to do real critical care. And I gave them a little speech and I said, you guys were designed for this. You went into medicine to save lives, and you're going to make a difference, and I'm going to be in it with you. And we transformed the hospital in a weekend. So that was very impactful.
That's just such a great story. So I'd like to talk about how we reconnect to St. George's University. I know I'm preaching to the choir here because none of you are far from St. George's. You think about the place probably almost every day. So what helps you connect back to St. George's University?
Well, I mean, lots of things. People, I think, actually helped me connect back. Phil, you helped me connect back. I've been really lucky over the last several years to be involved in the school. And I had reached out actually just after Hurricane Ivan came through Grenada and caused a whole host of trouble. There was a number of people out of the New York region and other places in the States that reached out to see what they could do to help, and started to reconnect to the school after having been caught up in residency and fellowship and getting set up. And I was very lucky to connect with John Madden, and did some work for several years with him and the team in the Office of Career Guidance, and had a chance to counsel and coach and help direct third and fourth year students predominantly, and first and second year students, counsel them for residencies, fellowships, and so on and so forth. And during that time, also get a chance to reconnect in the hospital, make some connections in the anesthesiology and the critical care department down there, work with Glenda DeRiggs, who was the chairman of anesthesia at the time, help connect with some of the different personnel that were doing some medical missions, Raz Gilberti, and expand it. He's really done tremendous work there with eye surgery in Grenada, working with some of the guys in the GI team and helping them with their anesthetics and putting together their endoscopy programs. So I got a chance to kind of engage that team of folks, all led by Brendan Lagranade. One of the more fun things is also helping people think about what to do next. My current practice, we just actually hired one of my former residents from Westchester Medical Center, which is great. And so that continued mentoring of people has been really quite rewarding.
Dr. Matthew, how about you?
When you brought up Hurricane Ivan, it just reminded me, I believe I was a third or fourth year student, and a bunch of us got together and said we need to raise some money to help support the island. So we threw an extremely fun party in a New York City club, and I think we raised like $10,000 or $15,000. It was a good amount of money. But other than fun things like that, I've stayed engaged by helping with interview candidates for St. George's who are interested in medical school, helping to host webinars and information sessions for prospective students. And when Sandra was talking about her heroics in the ICU, it made me think of my moment of fear. Believe it or not, when COVID had just hit the US, I was actually in Grenada speaking at one of the CME courses. So while everything was going on in the States, I was a little concerned I wouldn't be allowed back in the country. And I had never been so happy to land in JFK safely and get back home. But yeah, I've really enjoyed all the opportunities that I've had to continue to connect with the school, with the Alumni Association. Bruce Bonanno has been doing a great job. And Dr. Rao in his new role with the Alumni Association, I think it's really exciting, and we're going to see some big things.
Dr. Wainwright, how about you?
So it's sort of indirectly, my husband's a dermatologist, it's rare coming from St. George's to get into a dermatology program. So a lot of St. George's students who want to do dermatology will reach out to him and then he and I work with them to navigate, because doing wound care, there's some skin issues that I come up with. And so we recently got a St. George's grad into a derm residency. I mean, we helped her. She did all the hard work, but we did a nice little paper with her. Students reach out to us now and then. We've always been really helpful. I started the Footsteps program, and that kind of kept going because I realized that there was going to be a lot of power with St. George's continuing to turn out strong graduates who wanted it, who were hungry and wanted medicine, maybe more than our US counterparts, that eventually, just compounding interest, you have this huge population of talented docs who really care. And so it's quite a powerful thing to be a St. George's grad at this point.
Absolutely. I've been coming back to Grenada for probably 30 years now, and starting with early helping with physical diagnosis courses and being part of the faculty in the early days, and most recently getting more involved with the Physician Humanitarian Network. Brendan Lagrenade was mentioned, and so I've been doing a lot on the women's health side. And both in the hospital, I recently helped try to upgrade some of their minimally invasive skills, because even at the General Hospital in Grenada, they do a little bit of minimally invasive surgery, but it was limited to gallbladder surgery and a few others. And so we were starting to expand it to women's health procedures. And that actually happened must have been right before Dr. Matthew came back from Grenada, because I was there. I think I landed on March 3rd and was wondering why JFK didn't have more restrictions already. But so it's just very clear that there are opportunities for us to give back to St. George's in so many ways. And I'd like to thank everybody for just really sharing such great stories and from the heart about all of your experiences, both at St. George's and back home here, making our contributions in your communities and the country and the world. So thanks again, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Ailig, and I'm the Vice President for Alumni Affairs here at St. George's. I want to start, obviously, with a thank you to our panelists, Dr. Philip Larman, Dr. Glenn Brady, Dr. Sandra Wainwright, and Dr. Paul Matthew. It's impossible not to have been inspired by your stories. Obviously, your memories and your recollection of your experience on campus and your education at St. George's are powerful. But for me, the inspiration for your work and the impact that you've had over the last 13, 14 months as we've navigated this horrible pandemic are really remarkable. And I know that there are thousands and thousands of SGU alumni who have made an enormous difference over the course of this pandemic. And it gives me great pride and satisfaction to celebrate all of our alumni, but particularly our alumni in the New England region tonight. So thank you. We're now going to transition to breakout rooms, and I'm very, very excited. We kick tonight off with remarks from our beloved Dean of University Alumni Affairs, Dr. Vish Rao. So Vish is going to be in one of the breakout rooms, and we're going to focus on how we can better connect with alumni going forward, particularly as we make the transition, hopefully, back to more in-person events over the course of the next year. The second breakout room will be led by my colleague, Carla Lopes. She will talk more about the recruiting process at SGU, how alumni get involved in the recruiting process, but also how alumni help raise the visibility for St. George's and get involved in mentoring and coaching both prospective students and current students. And then finally, we'll cap the evening off with a guided meditation by Suneet Ball, also an alum of St. George's. And I want to just close this evening with a special thank you to my colleagues across the university who have made tonight possible. My colleagues in marketing and communications, obviously my alumni affairs colleagues, and also my colleagues in recruiting have all worked tirelessly to bring this together tonight, and I couldn't be more grateful. So have a great night, and we will continue the celebration of our New England alumni, hopefully in person very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
So, to begin meditation, posture is everything. The first thing I want you to do, wherever you are, sitting from work or home, is to sit in a chair. That's probably going to be the most comfortable thing. And I want you to sit with your back straight, basically your spine erect. I want your shoulders to kind of be square, kind of slightly back, but relaxed. It's very important to keep them relaxed. I want your chin parallel to the ground, and your hands just like this, with palms facing upward and just relaxed on your thighs. And what you're going to do throughout this meditation is you're going to gently lift your eyes to the point between your eyebrows, just right over here. Not too high, because then you're going to get a headache from straining, and you're going to realize when you drop them, when you're just going to basically feel it when your eyes have dropped. So what I want you to do is keep your attention on this point between your eyebrows. Most of the meditation, especially the mindfulness part of it, is going to entail breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. And all you're going to be doing is basically being a passive observer of your breath, watching it go in and watching it go out. Watching it go in, watching it go out. And that's basically it. That's the key of mindfulness meditation. But before we do that, as I mentioned, posture's number one, and there's a couple of preceding things that you can do to get started. One of them is going to be to energize your body. One of them is going to be to drop down into a little more concentrated state. The other one is just going to experience stillness for a few moments. And then the next part's going to be mindfulness and then compassion. And we'll be done. And it only takes a couple of minutes. So here we go. So what I want everyone to do get in the right posture, as I mentioned, spine erect, shoulders relaxed, chin parallel to the ground, and your eyes gently lifted to the point between your eyebrows, palms facing upward on your thighs. And we're going to do a little bit of energization here. So what I want everyone to do with me is we're going to do a double inhalation, meaning through your nose, and you're going to tense your body, every single muscle in your body, for 6 seconds. And then you're going to exhale, a double exhalation, and release all the tension. So here we go. Breathe in. Tense every muscle in your body. And release. And that's how you're going to drop yourself in to the energization part of it. Now, what I want you to do is we're going to go into a concentration meditation. You can do, to a count of 20, breathe in, hold your breath for 20 seconds, and then exhale for 20 seconds. This is all through your nose and out through your nose. Keep in mind, you may not be able to do 20 seconds, and that's okay. If you can do 10 seconds, that's completely fine. Just make sure that when you breathe in and you hold your breath and you breathe out, it's all the same amount of time, the same interval. So we're going to breathe in. Let's keep it simple, and we're going to do 10 seconds just for everyone. So breathe in through your nose. Hold for 10 seconds. And breathe out through your nose for 10 seconds. Now, you're going to take a nice deep breath in and let it out through your nose. And don't breathe back in if you can't, if you can hold off as long as you can. Just enjoy the stillness for a moment. And whenever you feel the urge to breathe in again, at that moment, breathe in. And gently lift your eyes open. And just be in the stillness. So, there's my intro to meditation. As you can see, it only requires a couple of minutes a day. You don't have to be perfect at it. It's something that you can do anytime, anywhere. And the whole idea is just get started. And you can shorten any versions of these. So, as just a recap, the first part was the energizing your own body. So, inhalation through your nose, tense for 6 seconds, exhale through your mouth with a double exhalation. Right after that, you can do a 10-10-10 or 20-20-20. Just keep in mind, whatever it is, just the same interval. Breathe in for 10 seconds, hold it for 10 seconds, out for 10 seconds. Whatever interval works for you. Lastly, after that, just take a deep breath in, let the breath go out, enjoy the stillness for a moment, and then after that, you go into the mindfulness, which is what we were doing, was just basically just being present, being conscious of our breath, not worrying about the mind wandering, just being totally present with ourselves. And then if you've got time, which is a separate technique, you can go into the compassion portion of it. However you want to recharge yourself for that day. The whole key is just be regular, be committed. All of us went into the medical profession. It all took commitment. If we can do that, we can do this. And it only takes a few minutes a day. Tell your friends, tell your family, you can do it together. And if anyone has any questions or concerns, you want to learn more, you can reach out to me on social media. My Instagram handle is on the link. I want to make sure I'm accessible to help others through this because I've been doing it for over 20 years and I'm still learning new things every day. So you can find me at SumitBallMD, and also my email address, sbahl, SBAHL 311@gmail.com. Happy meditating, and it was really wonderful to be a part of this. Thank you, everyone.
Is Zoom